good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's Flexi webinar. My name's Bennett. I'll be the moderator for today. Our presenter is Bobby Cagle, a sales manager at SAi and one of our Flexi experts. Today, he'll be demonstrating how to clean up some drawings in Flexi using the point editing tools. After the presentation, we'll be able to answer any questions you have either about this feature or any other Flexi topics, so feel free to put those questions in the chat and we'll answer as many as we can. We are recording the webinar as always, so if you want to review anything that Bobby discusses or share it with anyone else, we'll be sending you all the link to that recording this afternoon, so look out for that in your emails. And with that, we'll go ahead and get started, so I'll turn it over to Bobby.
All right, thanks a lot. Well, path editing, that is one of the really fun things to try to learn. I've actually been running Flexi for a little over 20 years, and path editing was one of the things that is one of the hardest things to really kind of understand and figure out how to do, but it's kind of one of the most important things, especially when you're cutting vinyl and or cleaning up maybe a contour cut path, something like that. So if you've added a contour cut line to something and need to clean that up. So let me kind of show you a little bit about where you go to start learning about path editing and doing that kind of stuff. So we've got icons over here, and the path editing toolbar is right there. And what I like to do if I'm working on a job, I'll pull it out, and if you pull it out, you can put it on your desktop just like this. So these are all my path edit tools. Now, also notice they're all grayed out. That's because I have nothing on my screen that I can use any of these tools on. One of the things I like to do when I'm doing a lot of editing, though, is I'll bring this up here and I'll just park it right up here in the top. So that way it stays up there permanently and doesn't take up any of my screen. Okay. So we've got a lot of tools, and I'm going to go over all the toolbars here and how to use all those kind of things. So the first thing I want to do is let's just bring in this file here. So you've got a file, and you get a lot of different kind of files, and this is a quality artwork, as you can see from right here, which is the kind of stuff you'll get, a JPEG or something like that, that somebody wants you to try to maybe print bigger or even cut it out of vinyl. And the bigger you make this, the worse it gets, okay? So what we're going to try to do here is let's turn this into a vector image that you can resize as large as you want it to go, whether you're going to print it or cut it, all right? So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to trace this with my auto trace tool. Now again, I'm not going to really go into the auto tracing and those features, because that would be on a different webinar as to how to vectorize things and get your best results out of it. But I just wanted to let you know that. So I'm going to click on this and grab it and pull it off. So you see I've got an image here that I've traced, okay? Now that I've done that, you'll notice all of my tools show up here, okay? So you've got a couple of different things now that you can do. So one of the things I want to do is, and the selection tool with when you select points versus selecting objects gets a little confusing sometimes. So when I select this, I've selected the entire object that I have here. I also can come over here to my point. This is my select point tools. So when I click this and draw around here, I've selected all my points. Okay. Now notice when I do that, all the points turn on. Once when I click this, I can come over here and do that. Or if I have this selected first and then click on my point selection tool, all my points show up. So every point on here is a different change of line direction. So you know that you've got kind of a jaggedy file that's not real clean. So how do we clean up the points and the paths and that kind of stuff inside here? Well, the first thing, let's just kind of work our way across here a little bit. And I'm going to be going in out of order as we get later on based on what the file is. But the first thing I want to show you is, let's go to our remove point tool. So this one right here, remove points. So if I'm in here, and let me come in here and let's zoom in here a little bit on this thing. And I've got all these different points, and I'm on my remove point tool. I can actually come in here very quickly and just kind of get rid of a point here or there. I can remove that one, and just kind of start clicking on these little points that you want to remove. Now, at some point, you're going to remove a point that's going to really screw up your design. So once you get to that point, just undo to get back to there. Okay. I can, the other thing you can do is also select a specific point. So if I've selected this light here, and I know I want to click, say, this point here, and I'm going to hold my shift key down and select, say, this point, select a couple other points in here. Those 2 points, I can now click my delete point tool, and it gets rid of those 2 points right there. I can also do it this way by coming up here to my point selection tool, select multiple points, and click remove points, and they're gone. Okay. So, but again, with as many points as we have on this drawing, that's going to take a long time to do that kind of stuff. So let me undo a couple of things here. So one of the things that we have also, and then again, add point is the same kind of thing. You're going to click on here. You can add a point to the middle. And then with that, that allows you to be able to, when you have a point selected like that, you can grab that point and you can drag it out and move it to where you want it to be. Okay. I can drag any of these points at this point by selecting it. I can also select multiple points. I can do this right here, select all 3 of those. And then if I grab them and move them together, they stay together as a group. Okay. So, an easy way to select multiple, points. If I want to select this half of the drawing, I can do that, and it kind of keeps it together. So a good way to be able to select your points, add a point to be able to move certain things. But then again, if I want to just select a specific point, I can come here, grab that point, and then pull it out. All right. So as you see, I've really kind of screwed up this part of the object here. So let's go to my some of the next tools. And the next one here, and this is one that's really important, is the straight line tool. Now, how does the straight line tool work? Well, basically, you're going to click a point at the top and click a point way down here at the bottom, say right here. Okay, and then from right there, you always got to make sure in your Design Central, with your Design Central open, you click the check mark, and that straightens that line out. Now, you'll see it looks a little jaggedy. That's basically screen resolution. It's really, the closer you zoom in on it, it's a straight line there. But now I'm going to undo this and show you one other thing. So if we're going to do that, we're going to do straight line tool. We're going to go from here to here. Now, I'm not actually getting all the way down to my point there. So the other thing you can do is when you have your straight line tool, before you click the check mark, I can actually grab this point here at the bottom, and I can drag it along my line to get it exactly where I want it to be. So I got it to right there. Yeah, that looks a little bit better. So now I'm going to click my check mark, and it's straightened that line out a little bit better for me. And I can go from here to here and check mark. And then here to here. And boom, ready to go. So I've just straightened all those lines out. Now, maybe they weren't necessarily meant to be straight. I'm just doing that for an example here. But the next one that I'm going to do is, like I said, I'm going to skip around a little bit here. I'm going to go to my my arc tools. So one of the ones, this is one of my favorite tools right here, is the 3-point arc. Okay. And what the 3-point arc does is it's very similar to the straight line tool. You're going to click a point here and click a point over here, and it's going to make an arc for you. And then you actually can grab that middle dot right there and change the way that arc looks, whether you want it higher, and the further you go out, the bigger it goes. And then you can bring that in to get it to look right about where you want it. Okay, that's right. Click my check mark. I can come over here, go here to here. And again, if I don't like where that is, I can run along my line. See, if I come along, if I go too far, again, it really screws up my thing. Or I can come back out here and get maybe just to right about there. Click the check mark. And then maybe I go from here to here and then click the check mark. So again, now I've kind of smoothed that thing out. And again, if I want to, I can spend hours cleaning up that kind of thing. But the next one I want to show you is this one right here, which is an arc tool. And you remember we straightened these lines out over here a few minutes ago. But if we wanted this this line right here to have a little bit of an arc to it, that's where you can use this make an arc tool. and it takes a line, any line segment that you pick, and once you get on it, you have to put your cursor right on top of it. You can click that and pull it out, and you can come in or out and make that line segment into an arc. I can do the same thing here, pull that out, make that into an arc, grab here. So it gives you the ability to any line segment. Now, if I tried to do it again with this one here, okay, and using that, probably would not work really well because it's going to try to go use that arc in between theirs. But if I needed to just kind of adjust that part of the arc a little bit, you can. And it actually adds another point and that kind of thing in there. So that's one of the things it does. Now, this one, I don't use, these two here, I don't use as much. They're just a little more, they're not quite as easy to control. So this one right here, optimized by smooth arc. So when you click here and then click here, it just kind of gives you this smooth arc, and it's going to smooth it out for you. It doesn't let you actually control anything, but you can run along the arc to get it to where you want it to be. And then you can actually define the diameter of the arc. I can make this bigger if I need to, or actually bringing it in, something like that. So you can kind of see the dot that's over here, so I can kind of control that arc. This is probably not the best example of where to use it, but as you see, it's just not controlling it. Doesn't give you quite the control that the 3-point arc does on there, okay? And again, this one is optimized by curve. So if I went from here to here, it gives me handles where I can actually kind of control that arc and make it like that possibly, and then grab this handle. So gives you, the ability to be able to control those arcs with the pull handles. I like the 3-point arc much better. I think it's a lot easier to control. I can just go from here to here, pull my arc in, and I'm done. Okay. So those are a couple of things as far as the arcs go. Now, one of the other things that I want to show you here too, and I'm going to skip over to the change the starting point. So I've got this set and it's ready to go. As let's say we've cleaned it up and we've done what we want to it, and we want to clean this up, and we're ready to cut this. And I'm not exactly sure. I've never really used this, but just so everybody knows that it's in there. But you actually can come down here and know the cut order and preview how it's going to cut this file. So when I click preview, this is showing the lines it's cutting and where it's going to start cutting each one of those. Okay. Now, if I want to change the spot where it starts cutting that file, okay, I can do that. So with this file selected, I'm going to click my change the start point. So I can now tell this, each one of these dots is where this is going to start cutting. So I can tell it, I want it to cut this part right here. I want it to cut this one, say starting right here. Well, actually, you've got to do it one at a time. So click here and then click my check mark. I can click here, click my check mark. I can say I want to start this one up here and then click my check mark. So now when I come back here and preview my order, my cut order, okay, it's starting there. Notice that one started there and this one started down here in the bottom corner. So don't know how useful that is, but if you do need to be able to change the path and the point where you start cutting, that's what that does. All right. So, okay. That is most of those tools that I want to show you using this right here. So let's go. I've got a different graphic I want to pull up here and show you a couple of other tools. So this is my golf club example right here. This is, as you can see, got a lot of stuff going on here. Not really the cleanest type image. One of the things you can do with Flexi is trace this with our Bezier tool. And what the Bezier tool is, it traces it and fills the image. So as I do that, what that means is, you notice the boat when I did it, was still in wireframe. This, as I filled it, it filled the image in when you use the Bezier tool. And it gives you a little bit cleaner lines, I think, on a lot of images. It's one of my favorite tools to use. So you can see how it's kind of cleaned up this image a lot. You actually can go in here now, click that, change the color of it. But what I want to show you is this, okay? I'm going to go to wireframe here for a second, and you can see the golf ball and the tee are kind of connected here to each other, okay? So I want to be able to separate this tee from the golf ball. Well, the way I'm going to do that is I've got two tools that I can do that with. The first one I want to show you is my cleaver tool. So my cleaver tool just takes an image, and you can slice right across of it. You start on one side, go all the way over to the other, okay? And I'm going to cleaver that, let go. And what that did was now it's just made two different sections. So this T now is a bottom section. So again, now I can use my arc tool, come in here, grab that, pull that down a little bit, kind of make it look like a T. And I'll probably use my 3-point arc, go from here to here, click my check mark, and now I've made that golf ball. So now I can take my T back. Whoops. Let me get out of that tool. Yep. And then we can put the T back up here a little bit, put our fill back on. And there we go. So now I can make this T a different color if I want to. And then I can make the golf ball another color. So that's one way to do that. Okay. Well, let's undo a couple of things here. Let's get back. Well, let's just do this. Let's just retrace it again. Get that. Vectorize, Bezier curve. We'll pull that off of here and come back over here. Now, this is a tool that I'm going to show you now that is not necessarily part of this up here. They've got one extra tool that's down here. It's called Cleaver by Path, okay? So if you have an image like this, and I'm going to zoom in here and show you this. All right, so I'm going to come in here and I'm going to draw a line, a straight line from here to here. Okay, and then I'm going to come in here with my arc tool and just kind of arch that a little bit, pull it down a little bit, get it to where I want it to be. And then I'm kind of moving it with my arrow tools now, and let's go to wireframe so I can kind of see where it is. I can take this, I can come up here, let's kind of rotate it a little bit, get it to where I want it. So I've kind of made a custom path here, all right? And what I can do now is if I select both of these, I just want to select those two right there, and I'm going to say cleaver by path. Basically what it did is it took that path and did the exact same thing I did with my cleaver a minute ago, but it actually made the arc for me, okay? Just like that. So now I've got a little bit easier path to be able to clean up. I can come here. What, didn't go far enough. Let's pull that around. There you go. So there's my golf ball. There's my tee, and they're now ready to go. So that's kind of an interesting way to do that. You could do all kinds of different stuff. Like if I had a path that kind of looked like this, and this is where, and I put this on here like that, I could cleaver by path. And again, so now I've got something that looks like that, something that looks like that, and it just cut it apart based on that path that I made. So that, not necessarily sure. I very rarely ever use that, but I just want to make sure you all knew it was there and how it worked with cleaning up paths and tools, things like that. All right. And then the other thing that we want to show is my scissors tool. So how are the scissors different from the cleaver? Well, as you notice, the cleaver filled in the line when it did that. The scissors tool do basically the same thing. However, when you cut across with the scissors tool, you notice it doesn't fill it in. So I basically cut that apart and made two different line segments that I now have here. Okay, so that is the difference. So if I needed to say remove this top segment, I could remove that, and then we could fill this back in. Now, while we're doing that, let me go ahead and jump to, I'm going to jump over a couple of things here to our what's called join paths. Okay, so with this, I can actually click this point here and click this point. Let's make sure I got on the end of it. Yep, I'm on the end point there. All right, so I've got that point. I'm going to hold my shift key down and I'm going to click this point. And then I'm going to click the join paths. Take 2 points and join them together. And I didn't get the endpoints, so I was afraid of that. So let's come in here. I think I've got some extra. So let's make sure I select that path, that endpoint, and come over here. I'm going to hold my shift key down and I'm going to select this endpoint. And then I'm going to click join paths. Okay, you got to get the endpoint, otherwise it doesn't work. So there we go. So now I've just I took the top off and rejoined those back together. That's, again, that's just want to make sure you knew that's available and how that works. Depending on the image and depending on the artwork, it's going to depend on what you need to be able to do. You might want to take one of these, cut it apart, spread them out, and then connect those points back together. And I'll show you in a few minutes, I'm going to show you a couple other ways to use that tool as well. Okay, so that is using the cleaver tools and those kind of things. So we've gone over the first 4 here. I've gone over the curve tools, and then we've done a couple of these over in this section. So a couple of ones that we've missed are the corner tools here. And let me show you those here. We'll go over those here in a few minutes. One of the other ones that I want to show you right now is the reduce points tool. Okay, now the reduce points tool, the way that works, and let me bring a different image in here. And let's bring in, I'm going to bring my boat back in. Okay. Now what I'm going to do with my boat here is, let's zoom to our page here. All right, so I've got my boat image here, and I'm going to trace this again. And actually, I'm going to trace it worse than I did last time. I want to have more points on here, so that's something that you actually can trace it worse, or you can actually make it a little bit better. But I'm going to do this, and this should give me some more points based on the settings that I selected in here. So now when I look at this, let's select this and let's look at our points. We've got a lot more points than say I had earlier. Now, one of the things I want to do is show you the difference in when you clean. This is called your reduce points. So what it's going to do is it's going to reduce the points based on a certain percentage of how far they are off from the baseline. Okay, so you've got a main line here, and if the point is 20% off of that line, it's going to eliminate the point. The higher you go, the more points it's going to eliminate. The lower you go, the less points it's going to eliminate. So what I want to do here is I'm going to select this right here. I'm going to hold my control key down, and I'm going to make a couple of copies here so we can kind of see the difference in the different selections that we have. All right. So let's select this one first. Get the whole thing here. And I'm going to go to reduce points. So there it's showing my points. Let's make my tolerance 20 here and click the check mark. And you'll see it got rid of a couple of points, but not very many. Okay. So let's go to this one. Reduce points. And I'm going to change this to 50. Click the check mark. got rid of a few more, still stayed pretty much the same way. So now let's go to our last one here and reduce points. And we're going to make this 100 and check mark. Now you'll notice this one may be the best one, or it may have really distorted some things a little bit differently. So you'll notice where I noticed some of the big examples is this is a little different, okay? And then some of the lines in here kind of started merging into each other, okay? Oh, I'm on the page. So let's get those off of there. Scoot that over a little bit so we don't see an extra line going through there. Okay. So as you can see it here, it smoothed out a lot of these points based on you can see the smokestack. The smoke changed based on what we selected in each one. So again, this is kind of a trial and error thing. The smokestack has a lot more jaggedy edges here. Let's scoot over. A little bit smoother. And then when I did the 100, it totally got rid of some things and may have really distorted the image based on what I didn't want. So, but for the most part, it's not too bad. So I just want to make sure you all see the difference. This is, a okay image on how to do that, but maybe if you have one that has more points and more paths to it that are a lot closer together, this tool can be a lot more effective. Okay. And again, as you see, you can just go in here, go from here to here, click your check mark, and that gets rid of all those points. So honestly, using the line tools is probably going to be a little bit easier, except for when you get into things kind of like this up here. All right. So there we go with the reduced points. All right, let's get rid of all this stuff here and bring in my next file. All right, so my next file is my city logo here. Now, some of these files actually, just to let you know, if you all want to practice with this at home, this city logo file is in your samples folder inside of Flexi, as is the boat folder. The golf club is a file that I had, so that is not one that you'd be able to pull up, but the boat and the city logo are ones that are in your samples that you'll be able to pull up and practice with. All right, now this file right here, as I try to, as we look at it, okay, we're going to notice that it is a vectored image, okay, or a bitmap. So we need to try to trace it. But when I try to trace this right now, and this is something you all may run across, it's going to tell me, all right, I have to select area. Well, it's a bitmap. I did select it. Why is it not letting me do this? Okay. Well, when you come across something like that, the first thing you need to do is right click on the image and see if that image is masked. So I'm just going to say unmask. And so the way that file was created, whether it was in Illustrator or whoever made it, they'd put a mask on it. So I need to get that, pull that off, and just delete that, get that to go away. Now I can come in here with this, draw around there, and it traced it for me. So let's click this, let's pull this off, and there's my image, okay? Now, notice it is not filled, and I'll show you how to fill that here in just a few minutes, but even if I turn the fill mode off and on, it's not gonna fill that in. It's just going to, and even if I change the color, it's just going to have different colored lines. But the main thing I want to show you here is I've got some tools to be able to use to clean this up with. All right. So let's zoom in a little bit closer here so we can kind of see what we're doing here. All right. Now notice the bottom lines. Now I could come through here and I could click, use my straight line tool and click from here to here, here to here, and straighten all those out. But they're still not going to be exactly aligned up. The bottoms aren't going to be aligned up. If I want to align all these bottoms and all these points very quickly, I've got a tool that will allow me to do that. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select all these points. Now notice the easiest way to select them is just make sure I'm getting around all of them and I'm not grabbing any of the points that are up above. So just grab those and select them. You tell they're selected. because they turn gray. Now, in one click of a button, I can actually straighten all these up to straight lines by using this tool right here, which is called Align Horizontal. So when I click that, boom, all those points align horizontally in one click of a mouse. That's one of the best tools that I've found for doing those kind of things. And again, as you see, I've got the windows here. Now this one, I've got to be very careful in how I select it so I don't get any of the points on the other side of this, okay? Which I was not. So let's zoom in here a little bit closer so I can get to it. All right, so let's do this. Let's come all the way down to here. And then I missed one point. So if I hold my shift key down, I can grab that point as well. So now I can click our align vertical. And apparently I missed 2 points. So let's hold my shift key down and align vertical. So that's how easy it is to align points. Now it'll be a little bit easier for me to do this side since I've already done that side and align vertical. Now it aligns them based on the first point you selected. So notice it aligned everything based on this point and based on this point. So had I selected a point that was inside there first, it would have aligned everything based on that. All right, and so also for an example, see these bottoms right here, they're a little off center. I want them all vertical and I want them to be horizontal. So I could just like that, and it aligns them all horizontally, okay? So one other thing, and this is a tool that you can use, and I really don't use it very often, very seldom actually, but I want to show you this one also, just so you know that they're all there. All right, so I'm going to click this point right here. And then this icon right here says make right angle. So what it's going to do is it's going to take that point and make a right angle out of both sides, okay? So this one here, for example, I can click there and make it into a right angle. Now, I can't, however, click here and tell it to make that into a right angle. It's just not going to do anything. It needs to be a point where you're trying to make it into a right angle. Now, this one you can kind of tell by the screen resolution here. It's not quite a right angle. So we can click that point and we can say make right angle, and it straightens it out. So it makes this and this right angles to each other. Just want to make sure you know that tool's there and what it does. Okay. Now, one of the other things that we can do also is let's come over here. Let me just pick this one right here. And we're going to play with this one here for a minute. Okay. And I'm going to come in here and select. I'm going to select all the points that are on the top right here of this thing. Right there. Okay. Oops. See, I wasn't on my right path selection tool. Let's select all these points right here. And then I'm going to use what we call align points. And so when I click that, I get a line right here. And I can actually take that line and I can move that line to where I want it to be. I can also change the angle of that line to get it where I want it to be. And so when I do that, it's going to take all these points and align them to this line. It's kind of like a line vertical and a line horizontal, but it lets you define how you want that line to go. So now that I've done that, and then these are all the settings that you have over here that you can actually pick those if you know what the angle is you want or the distance and that kind of thing. But now I've got that done, and it aligned all those points right to that line. So there are a lot of times I think you may be able to use that when you're trying to align points to a specific path that's not horizontal or vertical. So that's another nice little tool to be able to use for it right there. Now, one other thing that we have in here too, and I'm just actually going to draw something for this, is we're going to come down here. Let's draw a short one. and this, okay? So this one here this was one I wasn't familiar with until fairly recently. And it's called apply, length, and angle, okay? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna click apply, length, and angle. And then if you'll notice in Design Central, I can tell it how long do I want this length to be. All right, so we're working here. This is, we're fairly small, I think. So this is, this whole thing, let's see how big this is. This whole thing's only like 1.3 inches. So let's actually zoom out so I can work with a little bit bigger numbers here. Let's zoom out here. And let's draw some more lines. Boom, 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 boom. All right. So if I know I've got 3 lines that are going up like this, and I want all 3 of these lines to be the same length, and I want them all to say be, I don't know, 5 inches long, okay? So I can come in here and I can click apply, length, and angle, and I can tell it that I want it to be a 45-degree angle, and I want them to be 5 inches long, okay? So now I can click on this line right here, and it made it 45 degrees, 5 inches long. Again, I can do that here, and I can do that here. So it applies the length and the angle to any line that I select, okay? Now, one other neat thing about this, let's say I've got this line here, and I want this line and this line to have the exact same properties as this line here. I can actually come in here with my control key. I can hold control and click. And now I've applied all the features from this line up here. So now I can click this line and it makes it the same. This line, it applies the same features to that. So if you have a set line that you want to apply the features, the length, the angle, everything to, it's really easy to be able to do that with this right here. All right, so that's the apply, length, and angle. All right, so let's get out of there. So a couple of things that we've got here in this is, and let's get back in here and look at some of these right here. All right, so I'm going to use my scissors tool again to cut across. I'm going to cut these, I'm going to cut this, and I'm going to cut this right here, okay? Now that I've done that, one of the things you can do is we're going to separate these apart. Okay, and I'm going to separate these apart. Oops, let's go down. And let's separate these apart right here. Now, if you remember before, I selected the 2 endpoints and then clicked join the paths to get them to join those together. Something else you can do also, though, is I can select all of these together, and it's got open paths, and the open paths are relatively close to each other. So now I can come up here and click join paths. Now notice my Design Central has now changed and it's giving me a tolerance. So I'm going to click the tolerance of 0.02 inches. Okay. And let's click like 0.2 inches. And so what it's going to do is any of these designs that are within 0.2 inches, it's going to connect those paths together. Okay. So when I click my check mark, it instantly joined all those paths for me right there together. I didn't have to click each individual dot. And when you have open paths, so if you've scanned an image or you've drawn an image and you find that when you brought it in, it has some open paths, this is an easy way for you to close those paths without having to go through and try to find every single path that's open. In particular, DXF files will come in with a lot of broken paths, and you can just select the whole thing and join the paths, and that, join points, and that works really well to be able to clean that up and be able to fix that. Okay. All right. So a couple other things that we have in here. This is not necessarily the path edit tools, but it's part of cleaning up paths. One of the things that we also have is, if you'll notice, all these windows actually are supposed to be rectangles. So one of the things Flexi's done is, and again, I'm going to hold my control key down and I'm just going to select these windows right here. Okay. And they're all selected. We have something that you can come in here and you can go to arrange, convert to a shape, and tell it to convert it to a rectangle. And instantly I've converted all those to rectangles. Again, I'm holding my control key down to be able to select. And when I hold my control key down, that allows me to select what I get all the way around, not what I'm touching. If I didn't hold it down, what's going to happen is it's going to select everything I touched. Okay. But when I hold my control key down, I can actually only get what I get all the way around, arrange, convert to a rectangle. So there's that. Again, the moon, it's supposed to be a circle. Convert to a circle. And the stars. Now the stars are a little trickier, and the way you get, because I can't really draw anything around it or get to those, so I'm going to have to just kind of individually click on each one of those stars by holding my shift key down. Lets me select all of them together. I can do that. And then arrange and convert to a starburst. I've got stars. I can actually make them all have more points if I want to. Just kind of do that, and it's ready to go. So now I've just made stars. So those are some tools that are, in some cases may help you clean up your objects a little bit quicker, a little bit better. So one of the things now I want to show you using this little arc right here in the middle. So as you see, this file has a lot of different things I can use these cleanup tools on. So now I'm going to show you my corner tools and how you create sharp corners and then create rounded corners when you want those. All right, first thing you're going to do is we're going to select this right here, and I'm going to go to my sharpen the corner tool. So I've got this kind of blob here, and I want those corners all to be sharp on there. So I'm going to click there, and the way this tool works, you click on one line, and then you click on the other line right there. And where those two meet is where it's going to make a corner. Now, if I decide that's not where I want that corner to be, again, just like my other tool, I can grab this dot and move it along the line, and notice my line changes based on where this dot is and how it's coming off of there. So I actually could come up here and make this one like that, and then click my check mark. And then we can do the same thing on the other corner. I can come here, I can come here. Let's pull it up. And I just pretty much now made that a flat line going straight across there. So now I've got this image. But let's say now that we've got this image, we want to do the opposite. We want these corners to be rounded in here. Okay. Well, here's what we can do. I can come in here and I can select a corner. Okay. And again, I got multiple points in there. So let me make sure I just select one. Okay. And then I'm going to click round the corner. And then I want to click just the selected. And when I do that, it's going to just do this corner that I select right there. And there it is. I was wondering why I didn't see my little circle here, but I was too far out. I can actually grab this circle, if you'll notice. I can make this circle as big once I have that point selected. And where it's following this circle right here is where it's going to round that to. So I want to come up here and say round it in just kind of about like that maybe. Let's say we'll make it, just 0.05. And then I can click my check mark. And now it rounded that corner like that. Okay. Well, let's say I want to do this object and I want to do all the corners. Okay. So I can hit round corners and I can tell it to do all the corners and it will do every single corner for me. And I can tell them I know I want them to all be 0.05. And it's taking those sharp corners, rounding them for me. It's making them all exactly 0.05. I click my check mark and I've just rounded all those corners to match. So that's how the round corner tool works. Pretty neat, pretty simple. Makes it nice to be able to do that kind of thing, to sharpen those and round those corners like that. And again, I could use it. I could use my right corner tool here and see if I put it here, it's going to do that. I just follow this along my path till I get it to where I want it to look, and then click my check mark. All right, so that is the corners, the right angles, and how most of those tools work. So got a couple more here to go. We're almost done. All right, so one of the things that a lot of people run into is you will find that you've made either you want to edit text, okay, and you've typed your text in and edit text, okay, and we'll turn it dark here. Okay, so we've got our text here and you want to edit this text. Okay, well, we've been doing our path editing, and so I click on my points here and it is not letting me add points. Okay, and same thing with a star or a rectangle. Okay, I have a rectangle here. I want to edit my points. I'm coming in here. It won't let me, it won't give me any points. Well, that's because we have smart objects in Flexi. What smart objects mean is when this object is a rectangle and it knows it's a rectangle, it's got rectangle properties. Okay, I can do things with this rectangle. You know, I can come in here, round corners and that kind of stuff. So as long as it's a rectangle and has rectangle properties and the text, it allows me to be able to change that text. Okay, but I want to do something really weird with this text. So what I have to do on the rectangle and the text is convert it to outlines. Once I've done that, this text is no longer text, it's just lines. So now if you'll notice, I can go to my path edit tools, and now I can come in here and I can do strange things with my text here. I can move, edit the points, different things like that, pull them in. You know, I can come over here, do this, again, click on the points and grab that. So, you know, you can really distort your text once you've done that. And again, same thing with the rectangle. Until you convert it to outlines, you are not going to be able to edit any of the paths of the smart objects. Okay, so just want to make sure you knew about that. Now, then the last tool that we've got here that I want to bring in and show you here is, we'll bring this thing in, and I've got a fish and a tree. Okay, so, and again, the fish is really a high quality piece of artwork that we have here. So I'm actually just going to click my Z. Let's trace it here. Let's grab my fish, pull it off. And again, the tree actually is already a vectored image. Okay. One of the things I also want to show you on the tree, when you're bringing an image in, you need to make sure it looks like that is white holes in a tree. Okay. But actually what that is, when you color the background, you'll notice those are white shapes. I can ungroup it. Those are white shapes on top of a tree. So they're not compounded out of the tree. And if you want to understand a little bit more about compounding, I know we've got some webinars that were done on compounding and that kind of stuff. But what I want to show you on this one is there's lots of little tiny objects in here. And if we're going to try to cut that out of vinyl, that's not going to work. Same thing over here. There's a bunch of little tiny pieces of white in here that we really don't want in there if we're going to cut that out of vinyl. So one of the things that we also have is something called remove tiny objects. So I can actually select this file right here. I can hit remove tiny objects, and I want to do anything that is under 0.2 inches. And when I click that, you'll notice the fish cleaned up a lot. Any of that little small stuff in there went away. Okay. Same thing over here with my tree. I can come here, remove tiny objects, 0.2. A lot of the inside stuff went away. Makes it a little bit cleaner. Now, I can even remove more if I want to, and it just is going to kind of be a trial and error as to how far you want to go. You know, if I made that 0.5, it got rid of even a little bit more stuff. Now, one of the other things I wanted to show you too. Now, notice this fish is not filled in, okay? No matter what I do, see that the tree will go to wireframe or not, this stays that. The reason for that is this thing is not compounded. So when you compound, basically it punches the color out of there. So I'm going to compound it, and then I'm going to turn it black. And then you have a fill color, okay? So now I can take my fill color off and on. So now we get to look at what this fit, and this fish looks a whole lot better than it did just a few minutes ago. That actually, you could probably cut that out of vinyl and it not be too bad. So we were actually able to take an image that looked like that and turn it into something that you actually probably could cut out of vinyl. Same thing with the tree. As far as that goes, now if I compound this tree right now, what's going to happen is it's going to punch the white blocks out of there, and it makes it a little bit easier to be able to. Now it's only a one color graphic, and you can see through the tree now. So that is path editing. I think I've gotten through all the tools up here. I don't think I left any out, so we should be ready to go. Bennett, were there any questions or anything I need to address that we had coming through?
Yeah, there were a few questions that came in here
Okay.
that I'll just come back and revisit. Let's see. The first one came from Rebecca. I run Flexi 21 and can't seem to get cleaver by path to work. Any ideas? The cleaver works, just not with the custom line. And Bobby, if you can't answer this, we can always refer to technical support also.
Well, the cleaver by path is you have to have a shape, and then you have to have a path. Okay. So something like that. And then you have to put the path over top of the shape. Okay. So it's got to be like that, and it's got to extend outside of it. Okay. Then when you have that and you select these two objects, cleaver by path, now it's done it. So now I've got two different shapes. So if you don't do it, and if you're trying to make the path fit inside of there, it's got to be all the way through from one side to the other. You can make it it can be as far outside the object as you want, but you've got to have that path going all the way through the object.
Great. There are also a couple of people who are asking where the sample folder is. If you could just show where that is quickly.
Yeah. So not the easiest thing to find. So if I go to import, you've got to go to your PC, to your C drive, okay? And then you're going to go down. Now in Flexi 21 versus Flexi 19, they're in different spots. So your SAi folder in Flexi 21 is under Program Files. In Flexi 19, it's under Program Files 86. So I'm in Flexi 21, so I'm going to go to Program Files, and then I scroll down to SAi. And then we have to open up the production suite folder. And then as I scroll down to the bottom in there under S's, there are my samples. And then the boat is under TIFFs. There's my ship that I used. And then let's back out one. And then the cityscape is under lessons right there. Okay. So that is where those two files are. The other ones that I used, the other fish, this is a different fish. The other fish was one that I found online somewhere. And the tree actually what came from our Sign Design Elements. If you're on the subscription, you can actually go to Sign Design Elements, log in, and pull up some vectored images in Sign Design Elements that you can actually use. That tree came from right here. So Sign Design Elements has some nice ready to go vectored images that you can pull up that are ready to cut right when you bring them in.
Okay, just coming back to the question Rebecca had, she said when you drew the line and separated it, She did exactly that and it didn't work. Rebecca, you might just have to contact our tech support and have them jump in and take a look at it. You can contact them by going to our website and just clicking on the support button at the top right. Let's see, who was next? Rick made a comment. He said there are several useful editing tools shown here that I don't have on my older version. Rick, if you're using Flexi, an older version of Flexi, that's correct. We're always updating and adding new features to Flexi. And if you are on a subscription, you can always update your subscription for free. And if not, if you had purchased the product outright, we offer upgrade paths for you. So just get in contact with our team, and you can do the same thing. You click the support button on the top right of our website.
And if you want to know what version you have, if you go to help and about your build, your version and your build. So I'm on Flexi 21 and our most recent build is 3614. So if you're not on 21 and you're not on build 3614, I would recommend going to your cloud account and downloading the latest version.
And again, you can do that for free if you're on the subscription.
Yes.
Alan has a question. He says, I keep coming back after exiting and the old font and color is still there. How do I change those?
All right, that's one that a lot of people have trouble with, and it can get very frustrating. All right, so black is my default color right now, okay? The easiest way I've found to change that is, all right, so I'm going to click on here, and I'm going to have nothing selected. And if you'll notice down in the bottom corner down here where it shows my fill, I'm going to click a different color. I'm going to click yellow. Yellow is now my fill color. So now when I draw a rectangle, it'll be yellow, okay? Now, if I want my fill color to be a different one, I'm going to click off. I'm going to click, say, blue. Click my blue. Now my fill color is blue, okay? So that's an easy way to change the fill color. Now, the easiest way to change the font is like this, okay? So I'm coming in here, and I've got Arial Black as my font. And if I actually type something, I notice my fill color is still blue. If I type something and then change my font, it's going to keep my font the way it was. The easiest way to fix it, and and I'm not exactly sure why this is the easiest way, but what you want to do is you want to click on your text tool, change your font to the new font that you want. Let's say we're going to pick this font here, okay? And then exit the text tool. So now when I go into my text tool, it'll now be the new font, okay? New font, new color. I want to get back to my old font. I'm going to click black. I'm going to click T for my text. I'm going to click here. I'm going to go back up to my Arial Black, get out of there. So now when I come in, it should be black Arial. Hopefully that helps.
Just asking if you'll have access to this video, if you want to go back and just see what Bobby did there or any of the other answers he's given. Yes, you will have access to this. We'll send you the recorded version that's a link to our YouTube video in an email this afternoon. So you'll have that. Let's see. Alan had another question. He said, open with never has Flexi in it. Bobby, do you know how to include that in the open with?
Oh, that's a Windows thing. I am not sure if that one I am not sure about, because that is a Windows thing that your Windows operating system has to have Flexi as one of the programs that it recognizes to be able to open it with. And I'm not exactly sure how you change that.
And now that you say that, I believe in our last webinar, Aaron went over that. So if you go to our YouTube channel and click on our last Flexi webinar, I believe he answers that question there. And if not, that may be something that tech support can also help you with. Okay, Kelly has a question. She said, how do you update the build part of the subscription? Bobby, you said that you could do that, but can you just go over how to do that?
Yeah, honestly, in Flexi 21, you really just have to re-download it. There's not an update where it'll just update and reinstall the build update. You actually have to just reinstall the entire program and let it reinstall over top of your current build. That's really the easiest way to do that. I wish there was a quick button you could click over here and it would just update the build, but unfortunately there's not on the new 21.
Right. Rick says, when you pulled a rectangle, it had a line around it. I go to eliminate the line and close the program, and when I reopen Flexi, the shapes have a line. I want it to go away.
When you say a line around, I guess I'm not exactly sure what we're talking about. Are we talking about where maybe you have the inner border? That's a button here.
Rick said, turn that yellow. The stroke, is that what he's referring to?
Okay, maybe the stroke line right there. Okay, that's not really there. Okay, while it looks like it's there, it is the stroke line. So you notice as we get closer to it, the line stays the same. Now you can actually get rid of that. So if I actually click on my color and hold my control key down, notice, see, it becomes I'm holding my control key down as I put it on here, and it's got the pencil. The pencil is the stroke line. So when I click that, it turned my stroke line yellow. So, if you want the stroke line to be black, that's what it is. It's not really there. It shouldn't print that. If you went to go print it, if visually it bothers you, then yes, you can get rid of it by holding the control key down as you drag your cursor onto it, and you notice it becomes a pencil when it's on there. When I let go, now my stroke line is pink.
Okay, I think that's all the questions we have at the moment. We'll give just another minute if anyone else has any other questions about point editing or any other Flexi topic before we close it out for today.
Well, thanks everybody. I appreciate it. It's been fun. And if there's anything we can do, shoot us an email. I guess.
Yeah, and if you do end up coming up with any other questions that you don't have now, like I said, when you get the link to the video, you can comment on that YouTube video, and we'll try to answer your questions through there also, or refer you to a place where you can get those questions answered. But it looks like we don't have any more questions coming in, so we'll go ahead and close it out for today. Thank you all for joining us for this Flexi webinar. Our next Flexi webinar will be about bitmap filters and custom image effects in Flexi. That'll be on April 5th, and we hope to see you there. Make sure you're subscribed to our newsletter so you won't miss out on any webinar announcements. You can sign up for that on our website. Thank you again for attending. We hope you learned something, and we'll see you next time.